The war over where to work is heating up as more companies make their return to the office plans known. Are we seeing the end of remote work? Is it, in the words of Notorious BIG, it was all a dream? Or was it? Battle lines are being drawn as certain industries and sectors make big bets on where they believe work needs to happen in order to maintain performance, engagement, creativity, productivity, and innovation. Now, in this week's episode of The Future of Work, we'll talk the return to the office, and I'll make my predictions for how I think it all shakes out. Let's get into it. No surprise, tech companies like Google came out this week on the side of flexibility, expecting 20% of their workforce to work remote and up to 60% on-site a few days a week. However, Wall Street seems to have a different view. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon called remote work an aberration and not conducive to productivity. Solomon said, "I do think for a business like ours, which is innovative and collaborative and apprenticeship culture, this is not ideal for us, and this is not the new normal." Jamie Dimon made headlines as well. At the Wall Street Journal CEO Council, Jamie said, "We want people back to work, and my view is that sometime between September and October, things will look like they did before." He added, "And everyone's gonna be happy with this. And yes, the commute. People don't like commuting, but so what?" That's a strategy, Jamie. Dimon pointed out his dismay when he heard they lost business to competitors because other banks were out visiting people and theirs weren't. But it's not just the big banks either. A survey of 400 financial services executives in North America conducted by Accenture found that 80% of leaders prefer people in the office 4 to 5 days a week when we get past the pandemic. Now, of course, Wall Street and the financial services sector are not the ultimate barometer of progressive ways of working. Am I surprised that a 60-year-old executive wants people back in the office? No. Do I think there's some merit to the idea of the power of being physically together? Of course. Do I think those reasons, like the magical water cooler moments, get overhyped? 100%. But let's be clear. Jamie Dimon's interactions in the office are vastly different than the junior analyst stuck in the cubicle next to someone that drives him bonkers. He thinks differently about the office. But with all of that being said, what I think will ultimately influence how this plays out is talent market dynamics. We know in the research, people want flexibility and autonomy to make decisions that impact their life. Spending 2 hours a day commuting is a real challenge. I mentioned the Accenture study earlier of banking executives wanting people in the office 4 to 5 days a week. But guess what? The bankers themselves want much less. And female bankers in particular seem especially reluctant to want to move back from a partial remote setting. And if competitors are willing to offer more flexibility and in turn attract talent away from the JPMorgans of the world, I think we'll see a different landscape. The challenge is someone has to be brave enough to go against the grain. Right? Do you want to be the CEO who let people stay remote and then miss your quarterly earnings report? I don't think so. Challenge is the potential negative impact of remote. It's not going to be felt right away. We might not see it for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. How much time is needed for the magic of ideation and innovation and product advancement that happens when people are physically together? We won't see the impact of those potential decisions for some time. That means someone has to play the high stakes games today and say, I think we'll get better talent and the work will be just as good, if not better, giving people flexibility. And if Jamie loses talent to super progressive, flexible competitors, he might start singing a different tune. I personally think the future is flexible, but here's the thing. Flexibility at scale is complex. My advice, if you're at the helm of this, approach this moment like a scientist. Scientists value curiosity over certainty and humility over ego. You have a theory about what will be best for your culture. Experiment, track, measure, ask for feedback, adjust. Stay humble and be willing to change course. Here's the key. Don't let your ideas become your identity. And remember, the future, at the end of the day, it is exactly what we decide to make it. I'm Seth Mattison. It's this week's episode of The Future of Work. Hit me up. Let me know. What is your return to the office plans looking like?